What's up, guys? Let's go through all of the blessings that you can use on Nukers. I get asked like 15 times a day why am I using Ward of the Fallen on Protoss, and I thought it was a good idea to make a video about, because we can go through all of the different options at the same time, and I can explain why I'm using it and Phantom Touch and what other options you could use in different situations. But let's not read through the entire kit, because you can do this on your own, and I'm sure many of you know exactly what it does. But there is two things that the blessings basically do for Nukers. The other thing is that they give you a ton of raw stats, and it can be like a bit of attack or a big chunk of attack and a bit of HP and a lot of crit damage and speed. And this is what most of the Nuker masteries give. But Ward of the Fallen specifically gives you HP, which most of the other options don't. But that isn't really the reason why I'm using it. But the gist of what it does is that it gives you bone armor stacks at the start of the fight. It will depend how high level of blessing you have, how many you get, but up to 3. And this mastery isn't super good at low levels of awakenings. That's why I actually wasn't using this at the start, and I only switched to this one after I got 3 stacks on my Rotos, and after that I started using it. But basically I would say that this gets really good at 6 star, and at 6 star this is very good one for defense, even on champions that aren't Nukers. But what the bone armor stacks do is that they reduce the damage that you take, and at 6 star with 3 stacks you will have 30% damage mitigation for each that stack together for the first hit of damage that you take. And when you take damage, you will lose one stack for each instance of damage that you take. But it doesn't count in if you if you don't take direct damage, like if they hit your shield and they don't actually do direct damage, you will not lose a stack of it. But it's especially good on Rotos, because Rotos has a passive that reduces all of the damage that he takes by 50%. And the best ways to counter it is with stuff like Ramandu that are able to disable his passive, but also multi-hitters. And usually Rotos is paired with Necret that gives him a shield and ally protection and immunity and everything else. But the main thing about it is that it will just make it very hard to even do the 50% on each hit, or maybe you will do 50%, but then your next hit is not gonna do that much, and you're not able to one-shot it even with multi-hit skills that might hit twice, like let's say Errol nowadays. But the issue with this is that Basileus and Ronda are very popular champions that basically everybody has in high platinum, and both of them have very strong nuke hits for single targets that do a 3-hitter that ignores shield and defense, and depending on which one, also other things. But with those, they are able to one-shot Rotos even through Necret protection. But with this mastery, if you have strong Rotos like I do, even +4 Basileus and Rondas will not be able to one-shot. And of course, you will lose 1 stack of bone armor per each hit, and it does a 3-hitter, so you will take more damage from the other 2 hits, or on the later hits, but the damage mitigation will be so big that even the good ones are not able to one-shot my Rotos. And this is so strong that, of course you can consider it on other HP scaling champions like Taras or Mortu or whoever, but it's so strong that people use it even on champions like Duchesses in Platinum. It always depends on your team and strategies, but I have seen many people that use Duchesses that are built in resistance, and they are not super tanky naturally, but with this they are able to like take a hit, and I think that's an interesting strategy worth mentioning. But yeah, this is very good one, and with these blessings for Nukers, you don't want to just think about the damage but utility. Like all of them will give you massive amount of damage from base stats, and usually the damage that you get from the rest of the stuff, even if it says that it does damage, it's not big deal. Like these stacks also do damage, but it's not worth even mentioning. It's a little bit of extra damage, but that's not the reason why you're using it. Now, the other one that I use a lot is Phantom Touch, and it just happens to be especially good on Gala. And this was recently nerfed actually, and they both nerfed the multiplier that it scales. Like it has a chance, and at higher level it's 100% chance that it does an extra hit of damage, which is very big damage hit, and it can even do 2 hits at 6-star. This used to be 100% and 5-star, and then you would have a chance to do it at 6-star, but it was so good that they nerfed it. And the funny part is that nobody was really using this in arena, and it was mostly used in like Fire Knight and PvE situations, and people didn't even get to use it because nobody realized yet how good it is. But basically, for single target nukers, this is the one that does most grav damage, if the only thing you care about is damage. It depends, like it scales with your attack, and of course it depends on enemy defense, and it also has innate 30% defense mitigation effect on it, like defense ignore. But for me it does around 10 to 40k damage per hit with this extra hit, and it depends if you have attack buff and so on. But generally, let's say my Gala does like 18 to 30k damage on it, which is very significant. And often it can even help like one-shotting Rotoses, because at the start of the fight that will be enough to often do 50% damage of a Rotos. But yeah, I mean 50% HP. But yeah, the issue with this one is that it's only for single target, so AoE skills will not benefit. So it's very niche, and it's more of a PvE thing, but it's worth considering in PvP on like single target nukers like Gala. But the most popular option is actually Lightning Gauge, and let's not go through the entire kit, but the short version is that it's very good at level 1, and outside of the good like stats that all of these give, but at level 1 it has a chance to protect your buffs when they get removed or stolen, and this can be especially good against champions like Ramantu and Madame Ceres, that will both remove buffs and place debuffs on you. And this has a chance to protect one random buff, and if it happens to be immunity buff that you have from, let's say, Necret or Siphi, that are very popular in arena, they will not be able to place the debuffs from the skill. So when blessings were originally released, debuffers like Madame Ceres and Ramantu were like practically used in every single team, and that's why this blessing became so popular. But nowadays it's more of a situational thing, and often it's not very big deal, but you get this effect at level 1, which makes it very good. And it also has kind of like bone armor, it also has an extra damage effect on it, but it's not worth mentioning. And the way you get these stacks, by the way, is that when the enemy puts buffs or turn meter, so you will easily get these stacks at the start of the fight before enemy, like let's say enemy Arbiter or Duchess goes first, and then goes to debuffer, so you will always pretty much have one stack at least before that happens. But yeah, overall this is very good, it's very versatile, and even at level 1 you will gain a lot of utility out of this. But I think it's a bit overrated, and in the current meta it's not as necessary anymore. Let's see. Okay, this was another one, like basically everybody was using this at the start, but then they later kind of changed their mind about it. But what it basically does is that it has a chance to execute the enemy if you get them to low HP enough. And it sounds very good on paper, but in practice they often have like shield, or they are like immune to damage or some other effect, and it doesn't actually one-shot them. So very often this just, you get the nice animation but nothing actually happens. So, but I would use this on like, this can proc on multiple champions at the time, unlike Phantom Touch. So this is an option to use on your like AoE nukers. And I would use this maybe up to like 6 star, but I think at 6 star there's actually a better option. But this is not something I would usually use on nukers that you have in defense, like Lightning Cage and Ward of the Fallen give you better utility for defense. So it's mostly offense mastery. I mean, sorry, blessing. It's kind of confusing because in other games these would be masteries, but here they're called blessings, and I always keep referring to them as blessings, so I probably will say it like multiple times on this video, and I will mean blessings when I talk about masteries, but yeah. So let's see. So then there is Crushing Rend, and this is one that basically is only good at level 6, and at level 6 it will ignore 6% of enemy defense for every hit. And at that point, if the enemy is around 4 to 5k defense, it's around like 12% plus damage increase in like realistic Platinum Arena situation. And it's the best just overall damage out of them. But it's only really like at lower levels you will not get it for each hit, and it will work much worse. So basically only at 6 star this is good. And again, more for offense, because for defense you might want the other utilities, but most people probably will not have nukers with, or any champions with 6 star blessings. Like, you need to get very lucky for that, or maybe you can get like with the free shards you can maybe get, let's say, like half champion, like I'm sorry, 2 champions or a bit less than 2 champions to 6 star a year. Like I haven't been buying any soul stones, like not even once did I buy this. I've only been buying soul essences, and I've been using all of my soul essences just to get my Rotos to 6 star. And he's still at 5 star, and it's gonna take me a couple months before I can get enough for 6 star. And I kill this every day and twice on Sundays and so on, so it will take you forever to get any champion at 6 star unless you get very lucky. But yeah, that's about it for this video. Tomorrow I will have a champion guide, and next week I will do guides about the upcoming Doom Tower rotation. Like, this rotation has 2 bosses that are very important for Arena, and there is some very good ways to kill them that are like very like easily, like you don't need insane champions to do them. And there isn't a lot of videos about them, and I think I can make very good guides for you guys about it, so more about that next week. But thanks a lot for watching, and see you next week.